very warm welcome, and by very warm welcome, I mean a very, very warm welcome here live in the middle of the African bush. My name is Jamie. This afternoon, Viam is on camera with me, and we have a really lovely surprise for you here from the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, which is in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. Now, each and every week on Nat Geo Wild, we do a live TV show at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. That's definitely something that you should all be joining us to watch, because you could see exciting things like the surprise that we have up our sleeves. So on this boiling hot afternoon here near a local waterhole, there is a very special little creature hiding behind the grass. And that, believe it or not, is a leopard. And in fact, it is a leopard cub by the name of Xongile. And Xongile and her brother Hosanna have essentially become the stars of our most recent live TV safari series, just because they've been so incredibly present and thoroughly entertaining, playing around like little cubs do. And at the moment, though, it's a bit hot for young Xongile to be out and about, prancing around. I think somebody mentioned that it was over 90 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's about 32 degrees centigrade, and very, very humid. So in temperatures like this, hiding out in a spot like this is a good place to be. Lace, you were wondering what the temperature was, so there you go. 32 degrees centigrade, over 90 Fahrenheit, and very humid, with a certain storm-like feel about the air. Yes, little girl, look closely. In a second you could actually see her eye. Hidden away. Now, while we look at her hidden beneath the grass and beneath the bushes, which, by the way, is a very common place to find a leopard. Kristen, yes, leopards do climb trees. They climb trees unbelievably well. We've watched these cubs grow up since they were 2 months old, and we've seen them learn to climb. We've seen them make a few mistakes along the way, particularly Xongile's brother, Hosanna, who's not here at the moment. I don't know where he is, but he's not with her at the moment. But he's certainly had a few falls in his time whilst learning to be the expert climber that their mother is. At the moment, Xongile is all on her own, as far as I can tell. No sign of mom and no sign of her brother, but that's relatively common, because leopard mothers have to raise their cubs all on their own, off hunting. And now, because Xongile and her brother Hosanna are nearly a year old, they're actually showing quite a lot of independence. So they're moving away, going off on their own little explorations, and actually often catching their own food, catching something small to eat. Sometimes it's a tortoise, sometimes it's a lizard or a scrub hare. They're very, very good at that. Now remember, while we have this brief window with you, and we are live with you here in the middle of South Africa, not quite the middle, top northeastern corner to be more specific, don't forget that it means you do have an opportunity to send through your questions, and you can do that in the comments section below, so please do let us know your thoughts and feelings, because the leopard, I have to confess, is being thoroughly invisible and is very sleepy. She definitely isn't up to much. The trick, of course, out here is to play the patience game with young leopards, because they're usually up to something. They are full of curiosity and full of that. Sorry, I can't actually concentrate on my thoughts. That bird is so loud. Here is a crested barbet. That is the bird responsible for trilling away. Now, of course, that I've drawn attention to it, it's stopped trilling away. There it is, sitting at the top of that tree. Oh, joys of live wildlife filming. Well done, Viam. He disappeared. He was going... It was very, very loud and quite distracting. Now, back to our little leopard. Laurie, you say you love big cats, and thank you for sharing. Laurie, I wish you'd been watching or with us a little bit earlier, where she came sort of stalking through the grass and then went and found her place under that bush over there. It was such a beautiful sighting in this afternoon light, but I'm so glad we could share it with you. And Laurie, if you do love big cats, or for any of you that love big cats, please join us on WildSafariLive.com, where we do live safaris twice a day, every day, which gives you, I would hazard to say, an unparalleled insight into the world of these big cats. Short of actually being here, and even if you were here, you'd probably be here on holiday, and that might only be for a few days or a few weeks if you were lucky. But our live safaris do give you a chance to watch these characters grow up, see them go about their day-to-day trials and tribulations, and it is a truly extraordinary opportunity. Now, Nick, you want to know how many leopards we have in this area. We've only got this little one at the moment, but as I said, she is in fact one of three. Her mother and her brother, her twin brother. In terms of how many leopards there are exactly, there's definitely over about 3,000 in the Greater Kruger National Park area. But leopards are tricky. It's very difficult to know exactly how many leopards there are around here because you can't really fence a leopard. They can jump up and over fences, and the Kruger is absolutely enormous. It is 8.5 million acres. That's larger than certain small countries, so it really is an enormous area. And because they are so secretive, I mean, imagine, if I didn't tell you that there was a leopard there, if I hadn't seen her go in there, I don't think I would ever have spotted her in a million years. So it's difficult to know exactly with leopards. Certainly within our area of Djuma, we have at least 15 different leopard characters that we get to see on a relatively regular basis. Most of them are the offspring of a leopard called Karula, who is the mother of this little one, and she's actually managed to produce 4 litters to adulthood, which is extraordinary for a success rate. I mean, it really is very impressive, and she's now on her way to raising the 5th. And sorry about that, Bobby. I don't think I made that very clear. Oh, I thought she was going to go out, but she's not. She's going to remain hidden. Bobby, you wanted to see a female leopard. You wanted to know if this is the mother or the daughter. This is the daughter. And oh gosh, what's the date now? It's the 28th of January. So in essentially 5 days' time, she will be a year old. She'll be a year old on the 2nd of February. She's still very, very young and very tiny. She is utterly adorable, and I hope that over the course of our live safari this afternoon, you'll actually have a chance to see her come out and stalk about a little bit. And since she is being so reticent in terms of where she is, you can join us on WildSafariLive.com in order to see what she gets up to. I think once it gets cooler, she's going to go on adventures and shenanigans, because she's essentially a teenager. In leopard terms, and we all know teenagers do interesting things. Matthew, you wanted to know quickly what her name is. It would help if we had her face visible in order to introduce you to her, but unfortunately she is wild and she is live, which means sometimes we have to make do with the view that we get. Matthew, her name is Xongile, spelt with an X, which in the local Xongile language is pronounced SH. So her name is Xongile, which means beautiful. And she is beautiful when you can see her. At the moment, all you can really see is some spots and I think the top of one ear. Yes, I think that's an ear. Now, Nick, you say that you assume that we tag them. We don't. We don't tag them at all. There's one incident where a leopard was collared, and that was purely by sheer fluke that he happened to come into contact with a rabid feral dog that had managed to come into the reserve. And so he was collared for his own protection after a period spent in quarantine. But the rest of our leopards, no. We don't tag them at all. We don't really need to. We get to know these animals so incredibly well. We can become so accustomed to their movements that we see them on a very regular basis, which gives us a way of tracking them. And when big shake. The fly's bugging you, little girl. And when you spend as much time as we do with them, you learn to identify the individuals as easily as you would identify different human beings by looking at their faces. Each and every individual leopard has a completely different look to the other. Now, if you would like to enjoy these incredible creatures, you are more than welcome to join us on WildSafariLive.com. Now, Hester, you say this is truly an extraordinary experience and that it feels like you're sitting out here with us on the back of our vehicle. And that's basically what our live safaris offer. And we'd love to have you on board. You don't have to pay anything. You can interact with us. We can discuss things in far greater detail than we can in this short, brief 10-minute window. And I think it's going to be a spectacular sunset tonight. So I think you should watch WildSafariLive.com for the sunset, because I think it's going to be a beautiful one with all of the clouds and this beautiful sky. Right. Well, unfortunately, on that note, it is time for me to say farewell. Don't forget, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Nat Geo Wild in the States. You'll be able to join us for our live TV show. But until then, we'll see you on WildSafariLive.com. So from Wiem and myself and the gorgeous and somewhat hidden Xongile, we hope to see you very shortly.